Well, I mean, I think the approach to advertising filmmaking should be no different really to filmmaking broadly. I mean, I think you're looking, all of these things contribute to the final impact of the piece. You know, the cinematography, the music, the tone, the story, all of these things are incredibly relevant.
When you pick up an advertising film project, what brief you are given a script, or do you develop the script with the agency or with the client? How does the process begin?
Well, it's a mixture of both, really. I mean, traditionally, the process begins with the client bringing on board an advertising agency to creatively concept and plan their campaign. And their campaigns are normally broader than just the advertising films. You know, there will be, there'll be all forms of
Yeah.
sort of marketing within that. But for the advertising film, the agency will write. I imagine a pitch, a series of scripts, and eventually the client will settle on one, and that's actually when they start engaging production companies and directors.
Mhm.
So I'm kind of third step, let's say, from the client wanting to make something, the advertising agency creating the idea that they're happy with, and then them collectively bringing on a production company with a director attached that they like. So what will happen is the advertising agency will pitch this idea out that they've signed off with their client to a range of production companies, each of whom have directors that they represent. And those directors, if selected based on their showreel, let's say, they will pitch with a written treatment,
Mhm.
which will be a director's breakdown of that script. So that's why I say, that there's a bit of both at play with regards to how the script develops. The agency will write the bones of the script and the idea for the script, and it is the director's responsibility to bring that to life cinematically. So my job is to break down their script, suggest how it should be cast, the tone of it, the cinematography, the music, the overall feel of the piece, and the executional approach of the piece.
Mhm.
And so that's kind of how I develop with them, and then that will all be in my treatment pitch document. And then if they like my ideas, then they grant us the job, and we make the film.
An advertising film is a 20 to 30 seconds of attention, you know. So, what should work in a film, in an advertising film, that catches the attention? Whether it is the character that has to do something, the camera has to do something, the captions, or the graphics, the dialogues, or the overall impact. What is it, that singular thing that you focus upon, or you focus on all the things mixed together?
Well, I mean, I think the approach to advertising filmmaking should be no different really to filmmaking broadly. I mean, I think you're looking, all of these things contribute to the final impact of the piece. The cinematography, the music, the tone, the story, all of these things are incredibly relevant. I think the thing that makes shooting for such short time formats unique, let's say, is that you're trying to tell a story incredibly economically, and therefore you need elegant approaches to make that happen. I think and that has to start with the script. Often where there becomes issues with advertising scripts and when things become kind of messy and don't work from a storytelling perspective is when the script is too complex for the time frame. Now, obviously, a feature film sitting at 2 hours, you need complexity. You need lots of different strands of story in order to keep the thing feeling interesting and propulsive. But for such short form content, it needs to start with an elegantly simple idea, and that's not easy to find. But because simple, I guess there's maybe a distinction between simple and elegant. Something could be too simple and therefore not interesting. But an elegant idea perhaps is something with some depth that's also told, economically. So I think, for me, it starts with the idea, and you need to communicate, a story in a very short time frame. And the way to do that, I think, this is probably, you're relying on a certain amount of cinematic grammar that's already established, because I don't think the advertising world shouldn't be separate from the filmmaking world more broadly, because ultimately the tools are the same and the storytelling tools are the same, and you're relying on an audience understanding cinematic grammar in the same way. So you have a kind of, you need an audience who come to the table with a certain understanding of storytelling and environments and characters, and or certainly the kind of your archetypal characters, let's say, because you don't have time to delve into their backstory and create people that you get to know over a long period of time. You have to establish who they are and what their engagement with this world might look like quickly. So I think we rely on archetypes importantly. So, and I think that's, within character, but we also rely on an understanding of environment and situation in order to tell stories quickly, because then you have all of the kind of base level pieces in place, so that when the story begins and you're telling your unique part of this story, you have a lot of kind of prerequisite ideas already at play.